Let's get this part right. Yeah. All right, hey guys, Larry here. Welcome back to Games and Design. I wanted to do a quick video before I did my next official video because I was asked a very interesting comment in the last video. Here we go. Some better ambiance going on over here. Hazard5768 says, oh, perspective from a non-artist. I would love to hear what the relationship was like with the artists in the studio life. How much did you interact with them? How did you work with or serve the other roles through teamwork to get the project released? How do they work with or serve you? I like the positive energy you bring to the space. Thank you, Hazard. All right, we're gonna jump right on in. I'm gonna shoot from the hip. I'm traveling tomorrow, so this will be the last video before I travel and I come back and actually start releasing the videos I wanted to make. But let me jump right into your question. So as a designer, I'll speak about my relationship in working with artists, and then I'll also leave you guys with a couple of tips that will help you improve or find the best relationships available to you with other disciplines at your studio. Whether it's a big studio or a small studio, everything I'm about to say applies. Hey though, if you're new and you're just watching this channel for the first time, my name is Larry Charles. I'm a professional video game developer, and by professional I mean other people pay me to make games. But anyway, all that is said, 20 years of game development experience here. I'm a designer, I've been every job in design, and I'm gonna walk you through my answer to this question. So let's start. The first part of the question is, what was it like working with other artists in the studio? I've been very fortunate in two ways to have worked with a lot of big studios or small studios that have put together great art teams. I think one thing about making a game, or at least being an artist in the game industry, is you have an advantage. What you're making is something that everyone can look at, behold, and understand and take in and pass an opinion based on a fact, or at least their opinion of a fact. For example, hey, we need you to go make a car. Does that car that you made look like a car? Yes, great job, artist, you killed it. Without artists, I mean, we're stuck in the choose your own adventure days of game development. So I'm very thankful for all the talented artists that I've ever worked with. And I think the most important reason is there's a synergy between good design and good art. Hopefully, if your studio has good artists, when you come to your team with an idea as a designer, like, hey, I really want to make this moment where this happens. Now, usually as the designer, you probably put on yourself to think of everything. Like, at least if you're prideful about what you do, you think you have all the angles covered when you present your idea. Like, hey guys, here's idea, here's how it's gonna work, here's how I need everything to come into play. And a great artist might take that and say, okay, that's a great start, but that part where you're talking about they're leaning out the window, what if we had something outside the window that was very bright, that was casting in a light source so that your character could be backlit during the time that they're giving this very important line of dialogue, so that it adds just a little bit more prominence to them in that moment. It draws some photo, like the artists use their tool set, use their understanding of what you're trying to do to amplify what it is that you're trying to execute. And so that is the first and most important thing I would say in my relationship with working with any artist, whether I was talking to an environment artist, an animator, a character artist, to anybody. I'm trying to think of all the facets of the moment, right? All the facets of the experience, but I'm not an expert in their fields. I have taste, I have an expectation, I have my own preference for what it should be like. But usually if you're working with a great artist, they can take your idea as a starting point and tell you through their expertise how they can amplify it. That's the first and most important thing between a designer and an artist relationship, I would say, is find an artist, or try to find artists or teams of artists who really understand your vision. Or if they don't understand your vision, they know how to ask the right questions to help you bridge that gap. Now, if I was in a situation where an artist was like, Larry, just give me my direction and I'll make it, I'm gonna do my best. As a designer, you can do your best, but like, I promise you, you can always go so much further if you're working in a collaborative relationship with an artist who understands the goal, who knows their expertise in two ways, both very creatively and very technically, so that they can use either of those two abilities or those prowesses to help you amplify your idea. So I would say that is always what I look for. Now, I've worked on some projects where I didn't have that. I've worked on some projects where, especially as I went up the chain, the more was expected of me to just kind of have everything. But again, me personally, I still always encourage the collaboration. I still would sit and talk through ideas with anybody on the team. And I just always believe in that. As a designer, one of the things that I think about as a way to kind of explain how you work in the intangible and try to deliver a result is like, let's say, if you've ever seen the show The Bear, if you've ever been in a kitchen, or do you understand how like a chef kitchen kind of works? You have a main chef who's responsible for every flavor, every dish, everything has to be in concert so that the palate just gets smacked around and they say, thank you, can I have some more at the end? So as the highest level chef in the group, I actually don't mind if people come to me with ideas and say, I know we're making pancakes today, but why don't we add shrimp to the pancakes? I know how to make perfect shrimp. I'm the best shrimp maker. And if I put these shrimp on the pancakes, that's when I say, hold on a second, just slow it down. I'm going for a breakfast. I want it to be savory. This is the goal, like thinking of a game. I want it to be savory. I want it to be delectable. I want it to be more sweet. I'm not really looking for a seafood flavor. I don't care how you can cook shrimp. You might make the best shrimp I've ever had in my life. It goes against the flavor goals that I have for this product, so we're not going to do the shrimp thing. That is how the idea guy kind of has to work and like understand that everyone has an idea, everyone has their thoughts, and they want to have their input respected. But you, as the person who has to hold the vision for the final product before any of it exists, lean on your expertise and understand that, like, this is an idea that I like. It adds to what I'm trying to do because I can see how its properties apply. So for example, in that same case, I'm cooking breakfast, I'm making pancakes, and the guy who brought in shrimp, I kicked him out. Another sous chef comes in and says, Larry, I've got this cinnamon that came from, I don't know, Barbados or somewhere. And like, when I was young, what we used to do is like, when we really wanted to extract all the flavor from our cinnamon, we would actually bake it first to give it just a little bit of smoky sting and just a hint where it like makes the flavor more impactful of the cinnamon. And I now say, well, we are making pancakes. I can see how cinnamon would add to the flavor of the pancakes. It would work well with the syrup. And yeah, I've never actually tried what you've said, but let's give it a shot because that feels like it's in the direction of the goal that I'm going for, right? So like as the designer who holds the vision before it actually exists in a tangible way, I now have an idea that I believe will help us get further or closer to that goal. And so that's kind of how I operate as a designer, especially like in the higher up position where I'm working with other people who just think you're the idea guy and anyone can come up with ideas. There's an extra responsibility as the idea guy, which is I maintain the vision and I'm looking for ways to say yes or no to ideas that will help me get to my goal. I actually don't ever just design everything by myself. I could, but that's not fun. That's not a great team experience. You lose out on the opportunity to add baked cinnamon to your pancakes because you weren't the kid who lived in Barbados where they baked the cinnamon like that. I'm pulling this out of my butt. I'm just trying to make an example so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. There's outside influences that you can say yes or no to as a designer. Just be humble enough to understand that good ideas can come from anywhere, but you as the idea guy or the person who's responsible for the whole vision, you dictate what does go in or what doesn't go out. You need to make sure that the final product has all the flavors, has all the notes, has everything that you were looking for, even if you yourself didn't cook or add every ingredient individually. Getting myself back on track, all of my relationships with artists have usually gone pretty well. I mean, I'm a personable person, so maybe I have +2 in that category where other people might start from 0, but that doesn't change everything. I treat all of my teammates with respect. I believe that if you have the role, you have expertise that is valuable to me. And when I'm designing something and I'm looking for an art opinion, I want to hear art opinions from people who give a damn, right? So like, if I can tell like your heart is in there and you're passionate about the product, usually you'll have positive things to add. Or even if I say, no, I don't like it, I don't want to add shrimp, you won't see that as me calling you dumb, calling you bad, or like, oh, like you suck, because I would never say that. But you hopefully won't get offended because as a professional, you're like, okay, you know what? I trust that Larry is holding the vision and maybe the shrimp idea is not what we want right now. Oh, I heard something about this baked cinnamon thing that they're doing. That sounds interesting. Let's try that. How much did I interact with them? I interacted with my artists a lot. The artists. I interact with the artists a lot, whether it was the animators, whether it was the character artist, whether it was the environment artists, whether it was people doing textures and materials. Everything is gameplay, right? If my job is to make sure that the player understands the world that they're in, that the world has a story and the environment art reflects that story exactly in the moment that the player is there, or maybe it needs to tell a story of what happened before the player got there. It's my vision that I need to make sure that I communicate to them like, hey, before I got here, there was a big battle, like lots of death, like lots of destruction. This area can't be clean, right? Like this area needs to have blood. If I took the player out of it and they just were looking around, observing the space, what is communicating to them that a huge battle happened here? I always interact with my artists because those details are important to me. And so like, you need to make sure that they understand your vision. You need to make sure that they can execute your vision and that they don't have any problems, because when you step away and they start doing the work, You don't want to come back 4 or 5 days from now and they're like, okay, cool. I took your block out. I made everything that you asked for. And it's like, this place is IKEA clean. Didn't we have a whole talk about the battle, about everything that happened? There's not a blood stain anywhere. What's going on here? We need to tell a story. So I always would make sure to spend time with the artists, and I always made sure to listen. Because going back to that first point, I don't have it all. I have the base of the idea. I say, hey, this area, there was a big battle that happened, and I need a lot of those details to shine through. Let's just say that that's kind of my design goal for a space that an environment artist is working on. I want their expertise to shine through and say, hey, Larry, we can do all this in the detail pass, and we can add these decals, and I can like dirty up this area. And is there anything that the player needs to know? Do we hide anything in here? Are there any opportunities to scare the player? Like what else can we do gameplay wise in here that you want to do? Maybe you haven't communicated yet. When the artist started asking me questions like that, I just get the biggest smile because I know I got somebody who like I can really work with. And so if you don't speak to that relationship, if you don't try to nurture it and grow it, you're going to lose a partner in crime who will make your work invaluable. You know, like if I just dictated what I want everywhere, I feel like the game that I would make wouldn't have all the soul that it could have if I actually synergized and worked with all the departments and like really shared with them the details of what I was hoping for, listened to where they could amplify it, and then maybe go back and forth and try to interject a little bit more excitement based on what they know that they can do. You might lose on so many cool ideas of your own that you don't get because you didn't have those conversations, that you didn't have that open door relationship with people on your team. If you work at a company that silos you as a designer from other departments, they are shooting themselves in the foot if their goal is to make a good product. If you're on a schedule that is just work, mush, and there's no time to like really cook and taste and like think about the ingredients and think about the preparation, like really try to make a perfect recipe, you're not going to make great food. But I at least always want to shoot for the best I possibly can. I want to get the best I possibly can out of the people that I work with without doing it with a whip. I want to do it with encouragement. I want to do it with support. I want to do it with mutual beneficial goals. So like you knowing that you get to have a portfolio piece and being really excited about making this area shine helps me because I know that the gameplay is going to be great in an area that looks absolutely fantastic. So yeah, 2 points to sum up. I love working with artists, especially if they want to be collaborative. If they offer design ideas, I don't care. I love all the ideas because at the end of the day, I get to say yes or no. And I am the person who's supposed to be responsible for the final vision. So it's very important that I don't just let any idea go in. It has to be the ideas that synergize, that harmonize, or where the flavors that complement each other for the recipe that we're making. So that's 2. Interacting all the time. Played sports, hang out, do stuff after work, go drinking. Like these are your friends as well as they are your colleagues. When you have that relationship, you have a great opportunity to make great product. When it's just business, I feel like those products usually lack soul. They might get done on time. They might look fantastic, but they usually to me don't have that like that intangible, like I can't put my finger on it, but I'll stay with the recipe analogies for this video. You know, when you have moms cooking, like, you know, you can go to a restaurant and like blah, 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 and it's great. But like when like mom's cooking just hits just that little bit different, I feel like that's the difference when I'm playing a game where it was like, oh, it was just business. We were just trying to get this shit out versus we had the opportunity to work together. We tried to blend all the best ideas. We worked hard. We were able to like let this cook and simmer, and we reduced it down to like a very essential, very tight, sticky experience. I don't know if I'm talking about food or games there, but you get where I'm going with this. You can, as a consumer, you can feel the difference when a product has been given love versus when a product is just trying to get out to take your money. And so, yeah, that's 2 of the questions down. How did you work with or serve the other roles through teamwork or getting the project released? Okay, so here's a good one that I can kind of talk about a little bit. I spent, let's say, 80% of my career working in Unreal Engine projects. I love Unreal Engine. It's my favorite engine personally. This is not a commercial. This is just, that's how the chips fell. I found Unreal first. I stayed in Unreal, and I'm kind of like a person who just enjoys using Unreal as an engine. The benefit that I guess I've had in doing that is I've learned a lot of different parts of Unreal. And so when I was on Lost Planet 3, you know, they were implementing new tools. I was one of the first people. Oh God, why is it so hot? I got a fan on and everything. I probably got too many damn neon lights. I'm gonna turn off some of these neon lights. When I worked on Lost Planet 3 way back in the day, I was one of the first people to like learn the quest tools, and so I took it upon myself to make sure all the other designers knew the quest tools, right? And it was something that gave me a sense of pride in being useful to my team and helping other people save time. Because since I knew what we needed to do, since I learned the tool so fast, whenever another designer had a problem with like, hey, I'm trying to debug this quest, or how do I get a quest to do this, or how do I make it do this? Instead of having to teach them the whole thing in the moment, because we're busy, I can say, look, you want this? Okay, great. You need to set it up like this. You need the objective to work here. And then you need it to feed back to this. And then that will complete it. And the player, like blah, blah, blah. Knowing and having that kind of value, like it just makes you feel great as a person. It kind of gives you some job security. I'm not going to lie. But 3, you become a trusted resource by the other team members as well, that they know if they have an issue with quests, they come to Larry and Larry helps. Same thing when I was on Callisto Protocol. I remember so many times working with the animation team on implementing animations or going into the sequence, helping them get it set up right, helping to get the pipeline stood up, not the actual raw animation pipeline, just the in Unreal part of the sequence, working with John, the programmer at the time, to like really make sure that this thing was bulletproof. I mean, my God, I can remember so many times where I'm not even an animator, but I'm working with the animation team to help them debug an animation problem, to get an animation to work right, to play in the sequence, to make sure that it returns back to the character the right way. Like there's a lot of stuff that we did in that game. But if I was just some old designer who didn't care, or who didn't have that extra expertise, I wouldn't have been valuable then. I couldn't have helped my product move forward by helping unblock another team. Now imagine, if you are somebody who can help a whole team, think about how much money and revenue that you're helping your product save by them not wasting the time, right? You don't often get to see games get more money and more time. Like maybe once, oh yeah, we ran into some snags, COVID, nobody saw that coming. We had to like commit to work from home out of nowhere. We built this whole big studio. Now we can't use it. We had this whole animation thing. Now we can't use it. Work from home, figure that shit out. We're not changing the date of the game. Like that was real shit that happened, by the way. Anyway, if you're in a situation where you can help a whole team save time, it's very invaluable. And that was just one of the things that I love to do on a project is if I can help, I'm going to help, because I know I'm helping our product get to the finish line. I'm giving us more time to maybe do something else, whether if you don't, and layoffs happen, or, they start to trim the fat around the studio, so to speak. Who do you think is more valuable? The person that does their job, but also is a resource to other teams, or a person who just does their job, right? Like if it really had to come down to one or the other, one person kind of looks a little bit better. So, and granted, I don't do it just for the job security, but it's an added benefit that I'm sure studios don't turn a blind eye towards. So yeah, I always tried to be available. I always tried to make sure that if there was something I understood that could help other people do better, I was on it. And I owe a lot of my career to just kind of having that attitude. Is like being a good team player. You don't even have to look for the credit. Some people will tell you otherwise. That's just not my style. For me, it's all about like, did we win together? Did we get through this? Are we back on track? Yes. Okay, great. Back to what I need to do. Me personally, I'm very much like Magic Johnson. If you're familiar with basketball, NBA basketball from the late 90s, early 80s, I think even late 70s. I think 70s to like earliest of the 90s for Magic Johnson. He is such the team player. He wants to make sure that the Lakers win. It wasn't about Magic winning. It was about the Lakers winning. And like as a designer, as a creative, especially as I started moving into leadership positions, that's the only attitude that I take. Like if you're on my team and I'm responsible for you, I want us to win. I want to see you improve. I want to help you. I want to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful. If that helps or hurts me, I don't really care. But if it helps us, that's what I'm all about. I worked well with other teams. I made sure to be helpful. I tried to serve them and help them solve problems because, again, at the end of the day, the more problems you solve, the less time you waste, the more time you have for things that you didn't think that you were going to be able to get done. And that makes the product better. That makes the team better. That makes you utilized as a resource more. It gives you more job security. It makes you more valuable. So please don't silo yourself. Meet your teammates. At least find one best friend in every department for your own good. Find an engineer that you work well with. Find a designer. Find an artist. Find a sound designer. Find one person in every department that you just absolutely are like this with, because they will often be a great sounding board for you whenever you have a problem related to what they do. They can help you strategize. They can help you think your way through it, or they can offer you a solution because you don't know their level of technicality. You don't know their responsibility to the same level as them, and they might be able to give you a design solution from their art solution, or they may be able to give you a design solution from their engineering understanding, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the more you help the team, the more karma points you kind of build up. So like when you ask for a favor, it's like, oh, Larry, what do you need? Yeah, no problem. Yeah, look, if we do it like this, this will work. And I made you a new blueprint node and you just hook that to that and you're good to go. And like, I did it just because I'm glad to help you for once, right? Like those karma bucks pay dividends, I promise you. So please spend your karma bucks. Last, how do they work with or serve you? So yeah, actually, I think I just answered that. That is the last piece. I've spoken a lot. Again, I completely admit that I shot from the hip. I just called from personal experience or personal preference to do this video. I'm trying to make it quick before I travel. So if you've made it this far, thank you. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And I want to try my absolute hardest to summarize everything. So I'm going to go through one more time. I'm just going to say 1 or 2 quick points. And I'm going to end this bitch so you can get back to your life and go design some cool games. So from a non-artist, my relationship with other artists, that relationship is important. Make sure that you find one best friend in every department and like use each other's expertise to help amplify the goal that you're working on. Let an artist help you make your design better from their perspective. Let an engineer help you make your design better from their perspective. Don't think you know everything. Trust your teammates. You all want to make a good game. You just have a different set of tools to do that with, and no one has all the tools. So work together. Next, how much did I interact with the team? A lot. Interact with your team as much as possible. Get your work done. Don't be a social butterfly and don't do your work. But like, keep in mind, you're gonna spend a lot of time making games with these people. So it's good to have a good relationship, build some rapport, and work together, help each other. It's the best way to get through it 10 times out of 10, I promise. How did I serve them and how did they serve me? Learning the tools, being available to help. If I knew a way to get someone else out of mud, it's karma bucks that they could then spend, that you could spend to get yourself out of mud in case they see a solution that you don't, because they understand the problem differently than you. Game development is easy and it's hard. Game development is a team process. You can make games by yourself, it'll take a long time, or you can build a team and make games together and it still could take a long time. I don't even know where I'm going with that analogy. Game development is so much fun if you're working with a great team. Game development is an absolute hell if you're siloed and you're working with a great team that doesn't communicate. All right, see you guys next video.